Hello and welcome to whatever this is. We are some folks in the Colorado Netrunner community, and we're excited about Vantage Point. We're recording a little bit of a Hypecast, we've been calling it, to talk about the things in Vantage Point that are exciting us and getting the creative juices flowing in terms of deck building and whatnot. We're gonna go ahead and just introduce ourselves real quick.
Yeah, hi. My name is Jay or Cassie. I don't know. Obviously, I play Netrunner. I did that Padma list. I'm good sometimes. I don't know.
You competed in CBI. You are one of the tournament organizers for the Denver community, and you won a game with Super Deep Borehole out of custom biotics.
Sometimes I forget that I did that. That was really funny.
I got to watch it happen. It's going to live with. It is going to bring me joy in the darkest moments of my life.
And that's my legacy.
To know that I got to see that happen.
Hi, my name's, I go by Wigglestick or Wiggles, whatever you want to call me. Just kind of a generic resident Bad Johnny player here in the Denver area. I don't really have any claims to fame. I don't do the tournaments. I did, however, I will just ride on Jay's coattails here and say that I did also partially win a game with a borehole at Worlds. That was great.
When was not this past year, right?
No, it was in San Francisco.
Okay. With what? What were you playing?
Oh, it was out of HB. Because of course our whole team was doing. We were the team that was all of our runners were playing knives and all of our corps were playing borehole.
Delightful.
Yeah, it was
that's
great.
good. That's good.
Also going to point out Wigglesticks runs the new player events for the Colorado area, and then I'm Argon. I'm just some guy. Jay's personal sports psychologist.
I'm really bad at deck building. I freak out.
It happened to have a free basement and a microphone. So like I said, we're all really excited about Vantage Point. It's the new Netrunner product of 2026, maybe the first new Netrunner product of 2026, fingers crossed, praying emojis, but yes, so we're all excited, and just figured that we would go ahead and talk for a bit about the cards in Vantage Point that we're most excited for. But I honestly just kind of want to start off by talking about editorial division. Because speaking as the main NBN enjoyer in this room, I have no idea how to feel about this idea.
I think this idea fascinates me. I'm really interested to start exploring it. I think it is I like the kind of inherent built-in. You get a lot of consistency, but at the cost of bad publicity. And obviously, with some of the tools that corps have gotten to manage that, but it's still the mini game, I guess, of managing your bad pub versus the consistency seems really interesting to me.
Yeah, my initial reaction to editorial division was a little bit of fear, just because reading it right out of the gate when it says that it tutors all of the Black Ops cards is my concern is that this is now going to be a deck that just has all of the kill options on tap at instant speed whenever they need. So we'll see how that plays out. One of our locals, we were talking the other day, one of our locals was saying that he actually thinks playing a vegan version might actually be correct. We'll see if I agree with that. I'm certainly trying it, given, the weird hipster deck builder guy. I'm certainly trying to play vegan decks out of it. And then, so despite being afraid of it, this is one of the cards I'm actually most interested in building around this set.
Because I was going to say, you of the three of us, you were the one who has actually already built an editorial division deck in paper, right?
Yeah, and played exactly one game of it against you.
Okay, so that game was weird.
And there were elements from that. I can see it working kind of how I wanted to, because there are, when you don't look at the Black Ops, there are a lot of really fascinating Gray Ops cards that you can tutor that don't kill the runner, and Jay, you helped me figure this out the other day. But it's things like IP Enforcement, Shipment from Blood Disappears, one of my favorites, all-time favorites. Backroom Machinations, another one of my all-time favorites. Trust Operation, I think, is worth exploring. That's a fun one that
that
doesn't
is a
see
fun
play,
one.
right? So I think there's a lot of room in here to explore. The only concern I have about the ID generally is that it might be a little one note or too reliant on like parasitic designs, parasitic strategies. Just there's only going to be a small number of bad pub cards that it works with, a small number of whatever Gray Ops kind of fit into the strategy, Gray Ops, Black Ops, whatever fit into the strategy. But we'll see. I don't know. Maybe it'll be a bit wider than that.
Well, and there's also the illicit cards that trigger it too,
True.
right? The new subtype
Exactly.
for what I don't even remember what it previously was.
I think it was illicit, and now it's a liability.
Liability. Okay. Yep. Never mind.
I mean, your point still stands, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. The liability. Did you put any liability cards in that deck?
Yeah. I had several, mostly to trigger the gaining the bad pub. And so, yeah, those are absolutely necessary to make it work, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And useful. Turns out there's some really neat ones of those, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think this is definitely a one I'm going to watch, because I've spent most of last year just playing egg at people and Ayuko. But that idea took a really interesting trajectory where over time it got very refined. And because Wiggles was talking about the kind of ratios and what the numbers are, and the ratios for egg are pretty well known. So I'm curious to see kind of the evolution of editorial division as a ID as people start to explore the space. And I think it is a really interesting. It's really interesting because Wayland is traditionally the bad pub faction. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of really interesting Black Op, Gray Op, so it's exciting to see them kind of encouraging this stream crossing in that way. So I'm very excited to see where this one goes.
Especially since, like, going back to the FFG days when, the outfit was, I think, the first ID that interacted with bad publicity in any particular way, and so...
Speaking of FFG days, I don't know enough to say this for sure, but I'm going to build this in Eternal at some point. There has to be something... There has to be some weird FFG Black Ops that you can just tutor up and ruin the runner's life. It has to be out there.
Oh, almost certainly.
So, a challenge to the Eternal players, I guess.
I mean, there's definitely things. There's definitely plenty. I was surprised to find out that hard-hitting news doesn't count.
Oh, really?
Really?
Wild.
Boom
does, though, right?
Boom's a Black Ops.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the Nebula kill combo in Eternal right now is Boom. Mm-hmm. So just, again, but it comes back to this puzzle of, like, is the consistency of you always have Boom worth it? So, I don't know, very fascinating idea. I'm excited for this one for different reasons than Wiggles, but I'm still very excited.
I just think it's very nice that they let EA Sports design an entire ID.
Yeah, we're going to see what comes out of the UK from this one.
Every time you say that, I have the urge to put Jupstat in this ID and just kind of go for it.
Speaking of purple cards, so I think one of the ones that I was originally most excited for coming out of this set was honestly I called it a purple card, which is completely disingenuous, but everyone loves Flood the Market, I think.
Oh god.
Yeah.
So okay, Flood the Market doesn't interest me personally. Obviously a very strong card, but it has the obvious weakness of you have to keep assets on the board. And I've been playing a lot of like Seb recently and Lou recently, and I love when people put assets on the board. So I am. It's another one I'm just kind of watching, but like I was playing against it even earlier today, and it was a close game. They won because I misplayed, but they won with a Flood the Market score of 5-3 in one turn, which was a little upsetting. But it's like I could have done something about that. Like if I'd been more used to the card, like I could have just trashed an asset. Like it's. a very powerful card, but I think it does have a clear enough weakness that I'm not like worried about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see just what sort of metagame saturation it winds up with, because I do think it does greatly support those fully operational style decks. And not only is it a great thing to play in the purple ones, but it gives you an incentive to splash fully operational in NBN decks. And like you guys know that I am asset spam's
Biggest enemy.
Yeah,
Asset spam.
yeah.
Every
and
time I play Epiphany, Argon dies on the inside.
So wait, what deck are you playing tomorrow at the startup event?
I'm playing Flood the Market Poetry.
Yeah, okay, just checking.
Yeah, no. So like it's a thing with like there's a difference between like actually defending the assets with ice, I feel like, as opposed to just I am going to continue to drop assets into unprotected remote servers and say, what are you going to do about it? That like these are things that you are actually investing in order to get this effect.
Things that does interest me about the card is it gives you a deck building constraint, like where you need to have enough ice and enough assets to get a wide protected board, and this starts to edge out things like upgrades and operations. So it kind of gives you a deck building puzzle, and I think I love deck building puzzle. I love cards like that. So
it is a really good payoff for these decks.
Yes.
I'm curious to see whether or not it like winds up being too good. But you did mention, Jay, that there are obviously plenty of tools that are available to fight against these sorts of wider decks, even if this is not like 20 remote servers sort of thing. And I was hesitant about it. I think part of my issue is that I also have tended towards the hipstery things in Netrunner, and it's one thing to look at a card and be all excited about it, and then it's another thing to look around and see that everyone else is getting excited about it.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you both on this card. This was one that the very first time I saw this, I got very nervous again, kind of like I did with Editorial Division. But yeah, the more I thought about it, this is just a known quantity that was in the game before. We had Asa decks running around, and they were fine. They didn't break the game, and everybody learned how to play around those. And we have Azamat, we have Gourmands, we have, Lampades. I still don't believe in that card, but we can get onto that.
We are getting onto that right now. No,
but we, and then Ice Destruction, like all of that just cleans up these decks. I think it'll be fine in the long run. But
why do you not like Lampades?
It's possible that I need to go reassess the play and install costs or the play and res costs of cards. I look at that and it feels like too large, too heavy of a strain on stealth credits. That you if you're playing, it feels to me, and again, this is zero experience, pure speculation. It feels to me like if you're playing Lampades, I don't know how to pronounce that, then fueling
criticize
that...
your pronunciation in the comments.
Yeah, please. If it feels like if you're playing that or if you're using it frequently, you are draining all of your stealth credits, and then you don't have enough stealth credits for anything else. And maybe that's fine. Maybe you just build the deck kind of with that in mind, or maybe where that's kind of the only drain on your stealth credits, or maybe there are more stealth credits to go around, and I just haven't. I just need to see it in practice to be convinced.
So I have heard rumor of an air check Lu deck, and also like Methuselah Lu apparently that is really enjoying Lampades, and I actually kind of share the skepticism here. Because when I build a lot of Anarch. Like I said, I've been playing a lot of Seb, and Seb's kind of a weird one, but I can never see myself including this card. But I think this card will definitely have its moment. Even if its moment isn't now, this card will have a moment. Like, I can see if you're running it with air check, that becomes very strong. Sure. But it's just, on the whole, I think it's more of a niche card and less of a, like... I made a hand motion, so bad audio content. But
yeah, speaking as the guy who actually did build a stealth deck in paper with Lampades in it, and ran it into an editorial division deck. Out of Phoenix, no less.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
look, so the problem, I think, is less with the card itself and more with the state of stealth in the game right now. That NSG has done a very good job of not letting smoke exist. And just not having anything as degenerate as the smoke netmerker combo. But what it does mean is that the sources of stealth in the game right now, and that have been released with Vantage Point to buff the numbers a little bit, the ones in Vantage Point are all capped by, however many of a certain card you run in your deck, whether it's hardware for Methuselah or events for Touchstone, or are just an event themselves like Aircheck. And combine that with what we previously had, Trickster Taka, Penumbral Toolkit, and Mantle, the sources of stealth credits in the game do not synergize well with each other, and it's kind of difficult to build I feel like is a truly consistent engine to make a ridiculous amount of stealth credits. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, boy, does it sure trash a predictive planogram and a spin doctor for 0 credits and a power counter.
Yeah,
and that is good.
Mm-hmm. And IP enforcement.
And IP enforcement. Yes, we did find that out.
Oh, that's funny. I hadn't thought about that.
Yes.
So X is considered 0 if you don't have another value for it.
Mm-hmm. So honestly, there's a chance that the Lampides could be more of less of an Anarch card and more of a Shaper card now that I'm actually thinking about it.
No, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, because you have Methuselah and Touchstones and Mantles as stealth sources, and I mean, obviously it's running up against Azamat, but you do have the option of just using up the 3 power counters on it, feeding it to a Simmel chip, and getting it back later if you need it. And it provides more trashes than Gourmand, and Copulation doesn't really trash, but sure. I count it as an anti-asset tech card because of how useful it is at that.
And any card that trashes assets, or not assets, operations, does have...
Yeah.
So it's like I said, I think this card will have a moment, and especially like you're saying, there were already decks that had Mantle after him. It's just kind of a stealth engine, so I'd this card will have a moment. It's not a card that I look at and go, aha, I have a home for this card immediately. It's going to take some brewing, but I'm sure it'll have a moment.
Yeah, honestly, of the stealth cards in this set, this wasn't even the one that I was the most all in on originally. It just grew on me over time as I was brewing with stealth in both standard and startup. But I do think that as good as Lampides is, God, is it good to have Sneak Door Beta back in the metagame. I am, of course, talking about Baker. Because another one of our locals actually said that it's probably the best win condition in startup, which is very much on our minds at the moment because we're going to be playing in a startup tournament tomorrow as of the time of recording. And I'm also, as the main criminal enjoyer at this table, I'm not very good at it. I just enjoy it. Having the throwback to Sneak Door Beta in this form is really interesting, and I think that the stealth credit component definitely adds a novel dimension to it. Really, that makes you want to have a stealth source in the deck and maybe not be as all in on stealth overall, and then just have this as an outlet when you need it.
Yeah. I was really surprised to see Baker because I assumed that between Eru and maintenance access, NSG had decided we have enough attack archives and switch servers power in the game. But apparently they decided that, hey, we needed one more. And this one you can just pick whatever you want to do with it. So it's cool to see. I like that it's got the stealth restriction on it. So it's gonna limit it. You can't just throw it in every deck. But it was kind of a fun addition. Yeah, it's just interesting that we have a third server switching from archives option now.
Well, it kind of makes sense because the main one in faction for criminal previously was maintenance access, and if you look at what a lot of criminal decks were doing in the pre Vantage Point days, it was really really heavy on events, and not just in Muslahat. Like it always felt building a criminal deck that you wanted to have. You had a 45 card minimum deck size, and you wanted 40 of them to be the criminal events, and maybe with some other non-criminal events thrown in for the purposes that you needed. And I like to see Baker because it and a few of the other cards that I've seen in Vantage Point really kind of point more towards an install-based criminal archetype, which, as much as people will joke about net installer, myself among them, it's being able to utilize the board position as a way to set up your attacks on the corpse board state, as opposed to constantly having to rely on events, makes for another interesting dimension to the gameplay.
Yeah, no, it does. I didn't actually have a thought. I just started talking. You looked at me, but I don't really.
Yeah,
I am though excited. I am interested in like install criminal. Like I've always been trying to get as off the ground, and so if it happens, I'm excited for it. But
Sure.
Yeah, no, they've got a bunch of good cards for it in this set, including an event, and also they printed more good criminal cards in the form of 2 events. But
I don't know what you mean. I'm pretty sure Compromat is an Arizona card, just for the record.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the? I know that I have seen that Compromat has shown up in an Arasana list. Like, what was the logic behind?
So the logic is that Arizona does a lot of stuff during runs. Like you're installing Trojans, you're using Visarum, like you make a lot of runs and you want extra credit specifically during runs. So just any way to get, like, I've seen Chesva and Arizona as a very strong influence spend.
Yeah.
And I think the idea of Compromat, I think it was Cobra Bubbles. I'll correct myself in post if I have the wrong. But they posted this list that I'm referencing. And they make the point that when you play Compromat, you either make the corp give you bad pub and then you use that for the rest of the game. Or if you time it right, you get a bigger credit swing out of getting them to derez whatever piece of ice. So it's a very... I go back and forth. I'm very excited for Arizona, and we'll get to it later, but I go back and forth on whether or not I think Compromat is like the best, but I definitely see the logic. I don't know, I'm excited. I'm very happy with this trend of spending a lot of influence to get good econ denial from a different faction into Arizona. It just makes me laugh. So, anyways, back to your talk about criminal.
Well, no, actually, no, you because I got there's something that I'm kind of curious about though.
Sure.
As the one of the biggest enjoyers of orange cards at this table, what would you think about something like Take a Dive in Arizona?
I have thought about that a lot. I think it's on my short list to brew, frankly. I think it deserves a lot of consideration, especially because you're already running Slap Vandal, usually, which breaks a subroutine, so it's pretty easy to engineer Take a Dive. In a way, you have more control over it, because it kind of takes any choice away from the corp. It's just, if this happens, you get the bad pub. So both of these cards, Take a Dive and Compromat, are just very situational. But the payoff, bad pub is so good for runners generally. But so I guess long answer short, Take a Dive. I'm calling it in my mind. I call it Double Dive Arizona because it's Take a Dive, Deep Dive Arizona, and it's definitely on my list of. It's definitely on my list. I think it has a lot of. They're the same influence cost too. Take a Dive and Compromat.
It's 4. They're hefty.
Well, it's just it's only 4 as someone who ran Transfer Arizona. So it's like, but it's. I guess what I'm saying is it's known how to build around a 4 influence include.
Sure,
like, it's been done before. It's hefty, but it's not unworkable. And the look on your opponent's face when you do it has to be worth something. Like,
That's fair.
Has
That's
to be
fair.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
To just show up at a locals and be like, I take a dive, and they're like, bro, you're playing Arizona. And it's like, yeah, I know.
You take a dive, and then during the run, you install the Slap Vandal or the Botulus from your hand.
Exactly.
And then it's just like, yeah, it really is very reminiscent of Mining Accident in that regard.
Yes.
I realize that we're just going at a mile a minute in terms of the segues, but there's so much in this set to talk about.
It's a really good set. I'm
Yeah.
like Argon said at the beginning, very excited about this set.
Yeah.
Yeah, and specifically, there's a lot of near prints in this set. You know, we've already been going back and referencing other cards like, Sneak Door Beta and Mining Accident, and there's also some good Corp near prints as well.
Very much so.
Anyone in particular that you guys are happy to see, or?
Yeah, so I think the one that just brings me the most joy seeing back is Paywall. Because it's simple. It's, it's very small, it's very simple, but pop-up window to me is such a part of the core identity of NBN, what they do, what they stand for, both thematically and mechanically. That losing that felt like losing a big part of what NBN was, and what just giving them and just giving them the ability to be a really annoying piece of ice that the runner has to run through over and over and over again. It's just a tiny tax over and over again, and so to have Paywall arrive in the fashion that it did is, I love it. I think it's great, and like mechanically, I think it's awesome that I think we'll see, but Paywall has a real chance of kind of unseating ping as the default low, cheap barrier for NBN in NBN decks that don't care as much about tags. Obviously, if you care about tags, you're still going to run ping, but now you have a viable alternative. I'm not going to say the game net word, but you have a viable alternative, and I could be splashed outside of faction super easily. So I'm just really excited to see this card back. I don't know how much I'm going to play it. I love the fact that it exists, though.
Yeah, it is one of the reasons that I am excited to potentially build GameNet now. Like I know that but GameNet is just eating super well in this set.
The winner of the set, yes.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going to argue for Arizona, but GameNet is eating. I think Arizona got a lot of good tools, but it's hard to look at GameNet and not try.
Can we please troll Omaha by all taking GameNet decks?
I will consider it. As a Synapse main, phrase that has never been uttered in the English language before, I was kind of considering maybe bringing a Synapse deck. I was also considering bringing Nebula, and with it, the first Corp card we've talked about that isn't yellow. One of another near print that I was really excited to see again was Flagship, as the Chrysium Grid analog, and obviously, considering Nebula's existence, bumping it up to 2 influence was probably good. I also do like the fact that it is an answer to multi-access, and one of a number of cards that they've printed in this set that feels like it's trying to revitalize Glacier as an archetype.
Yeah, and I think it's important. I don't think it's a coincidence that Flagship came out and they unbanned Deep Dive in the same, because Chrysium Grid was like a star, from my understanding, was a pretty consistent answer or complication to Deep Dive. So I'm and also as an Earth Station enjoyer, you have to enjoy seeing Flagship back on the table.
Yeah.
But it's a really very interesting card. Yeah, well stated.
Yeah, it's. I have complicated feelings about both. Well, Chrysium before and now Flagship. In that I hate the card. I hate that it exists. I hate that it shuts down all the fun stuff. But I also recognize that it needs to exist, and I'm happy it does, even though I hate the card.
That's very mature of you.
Yeah, I am, like I said, I'm looking forward to putting it in NBN. So I'm not exactly planning on using it to do positive play experience things.
Well, it's actually, as of this morning, a bunch of deck lists from the show match between the was it TAB and EA Sports?
Yes, yeah.
A bunch of there's an Ob list that just had a one of flagship, and that is really interesting to me because it's just another trick for Ob. Ob, by the way, also winning,
Yeah,
but it's like
yeah.
suddenly you have this window where you can resume a virus and turn it into a flagship and just kill a run, and I think that's very interesting. It kind of leans into what Ob is already doing, which is just toolboxing. So
don't look at me. I'm not going to say anything about Op. We're talking about Vantage Point. We'll save that for another day.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, yeah, it's, I mean, in that case, why don't you talk about Let It Dream? Let them dream.
Oh God. Okay, so I've kind of hated this card since I saw it. I don't. Okay, I am a doomer by nature, and I don't like that this card exists. I am incredibly worried about it. I don't like that. I understand. Okay, I understand that a 4-2 is very different than a 5-3 being Global Food Initiative from the past. So this is the kind of weird sideways near print of Global Food Initiative. I understand that being a 4-2 is very different than a 5-3. I understand that changes the agenda math quite a bit on 2 points versus 1 point, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I know NSG put out the big long blog post attempting to defend the printing of this card, and I'm sure the people who are good at math are, prove that this is fine and healthy for the game. I don't understand why they felt the need to staple another incredibly powerful ability onto this incredibly powerful idea or agenda. Mostly, like, it's a very subjective sort of assessment I have here, but like it's going to lead to a lot of very deflating or feel bad moments in games when you finally rip the last 2 points off the deck and oh no, it's actually 1 point. And
so here's a funny story. One of the few games I managed to squeeze in this week was playing against a Bane Goon, and they did the Bane Goon thing where they put 2 upgrades and a face up Let Them Dream in a server. And I know that that's Angelique and Daniela, and that if I touch this agenda, I take 6 damage, but I'm already on 5 points, right? So I draw, run, and then die because I only got the 6. I kind of realized, I was sitting there like, can I afford to steal something? Oh, no, I win. I don't have to afford anything. And then I forgot and just immediately died. And I was like, oh, that was actually really funny. But I will say, if you were done.
Oh, yeah, go. I have more, but
I will say the blog post actually did a lot to kind of change my perception of this card by identifying the problem that they were trying to solve.
Yeah.
And I found in deck building that there are a lot of decks where I resent the influence I'm spending on this card and wind up dropping it. So it's like, I think it does kind of make this feel bad moment where like, oh, I'm only at 6 still. Yeah. Like I've had a lot of games that I would have won if I had touched Not Let Them Dream. But I think there is kind of a harder to see, harder to measure impact on the deck building.
Yeah.
That does put a constraint on the decks that play Let Them Dream.
No, that's an incredibly fair point, and you're right. Like having to spend an influence on a 4-2 sucks. Like we already have the neutral agenda. We have a vulnerability audit where you're spending an influence, but at least you're getting a 3-pointer out of it. That's theoretically easy to score. So that feels a lot better. So I totally agree with you there, and that is a completely fair point.
I genuinely thought that this card was unplayable when I first saw it.
That was a funny discussion.
That okay, it's costing you an influence. It's only 2 points. If your deck is full of 2-pointers, the runner stealing it is just not going to make a difference at all. And then I found out that it was banned in startup on day 1.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and it's definitely one of those things that, like, when you steal 2 of them, that's when it gets to the point of like, okay, maybe this was a little bit of a problem. But on the other hand, I do like the fact that, it's genuinely trying to promote scoring as a win condition for the court.
Sure.
When, we've been living in this world where, as much as we don't want to talk about them, the boat full of eggs is basically the corp metagame at this point is just all this kill stuff. And we've also been seeing things like the false lead Nebula, or every single iteration of Nebula that had to get whacked with the banhammer until it was just not creating these NPE kill experiences.
Clutch ups, my beloved.
And so, I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I think the one influence cost is kind of significant, but
it is.
It's one of those things where I'm just curious to see how it plays out.
Well, and I mean, I think all three of us had more or less the same thought at the same time when we first saw the card, and I'm 100%. So, I hate this card, right?
Uh-huh.
I have already built just the worst Thule deck with 3 Let Them Dreams. And I'm going
3 Luxury Lines, 3 Nightmare Archives, Mega Pre-Qualifier.
It's bad.
The deck just built itself.
So, we'll just make the most NPE deck out there. It'll be great.
You'll do that. My Thule deck is completely different.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
It's a flood the market deck.
My Thule deck has end of the line, so we're not the same.
We're all just complete various flavors of deviance. I
do want to say though, before we move away from this, the art on this card is incredible.
Oh, it's cool.
Like in general, the art in this set slaps. But I remember when I saw the art for Let Them Dream, I was like, oh, that's I just love it.
I'm one of those people, like basically everybody else, who when you first see the Earthrise picture, popular from whenever the 90s or whenever that was taken, that image sticks with you, and so then this is not Earthrise, but to see kind of the stadium with Earth in the background, it's a very nice piece of art.
It's a very nice piece of art.
Great little bit of world building. It's like, hey, they have these kind of low-G arenas on the moon, and and I mean, and this is a bit of a tangent, but you had mentioned like even the fact that a really cool piece of world building that's been called out elsewhere is that there are cities that have risen and fallen already on the moon throughout time, and this doesn't. It's probably in a fairly short span of time, but there have been cities that didn't succeed or had to be torn down for whatever reason, and like Méliès is kind of built either in the shadow of or on top of the ruins of these old cities, so there's already kind of this like history on the moon now. It's just a really cool setting, and what the direction they're heading with is really neat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, that's definitely true. I think speaking as a guy who is kind of also a fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons enjoyer, that the precursor civilization aspect of things is it is pretty interesting in and of itself, and the fact that it's coming back stronger than ever.
Mm-hmm.
They even have a university now.
Yeah. A completely above board university where nothing bad will ever happen.
I can't wait to see how many people are playing Méliès tomorrow at the event.
Well, I will say Méliès and Startup, I think, is much... Because when I look at Méliès U, my first thought was, I'm just going to put 3 Seamlesses in this deck.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime I win the stupid minigame, I get a Seamless launch back.
Right. PD at home.
Yeah, it's just PD at home, and if you don't run, I make money. And I get to play Sysentons. Like, I don't know. But the fact that Seamless Launch is banned in Startup, Moonpool and Cohort are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Jinteki in Startup doesn't have a lot of the tricks that make it a threat in Standard.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I am playing Melee U, so what do I know?
Right, yeah. But I assume most people are, because it's just gonna... It's a really cool ID.
It's a really cool ID. This is when I saw it for the first time, I went, I don't care, I'm playing this until it dies or I die. Like, I'm very excited for this.
So then what direction are you taking the Startup deck if you're not able to go the rushier route?
Well, I don't want to spoil it since you'll be playing against it tomorrow. But it does have 2 Fun Houses, an Unleash, and a Visha Connect.
Oh, no.
And then Amaze Amusements.
This is going to be great.
So hopefully I just kill some people.
Jay, I can't believe that you'd think that having that information would give me any help against you at all.
I kind of just went with my heart on that one. I don't think it's going to be a good pile, but I'm very excited for it.
I hope it does the thing.
There are 3 orbital superiorities in the deck.
Oh god.
Orbital superiority tangent. The fact that any corp can get orbital superiority is so funny to me, because it's like, we are a college and our satellite will do 4 damage. It's like, hi, we're Nebula. You know, we make pop stars, and our satellite will. It makes me laugh sometimes thinking about it. But
Yeah, we're an undersea commune with a kill set.
right, yeah, exactly. I will say though, in standard, I think Melier is going to be an absolute just force.
Yeah, for sure.
Lotus Haze in Red Room is pretty gross. Actually, like, Red Room is a very effective, a very effective card in general, I think. Yeah. Oh, I did find out, here's a fun, Pinhole is optional, so I tried to move Red Room into Archives in a Pinhole so that they couldn't, and then they just trashed it. I was very upset.
Yeah.
What, Pinhole is optional? Since when?
That's what I said, but they just kind of didn't. I was very confused. Or maybe I missed my window or something, but... But anyways, I do think Melier in standard, because you can bounce Manic Arm, you can bounce Measured Respawn, Seamless Launch, Anoetic Void, Mitra Amon. Like, there's just so many cards that are balanced around, you only get so many of them.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's kind of PD with extra steps. So I think it's going to be a pretty serious contender in standard.
I think so.
Probably going to be a much more skill testing version of PD, admittedly. So I am staying as far away from that as possible.
I don't know what you mean. Just always click R&D. Like, as soon as they flip it over on the right side once, you pick that for the rest of the game, and you let the runner mind game themselves to death. It's easy.
It's like filling in A for all of the questions on the Scantron.
My sister, whenever she plays rock, paper, scissors, always goes rock, and she always tells the other person she's going to go rock, and every once in a while she just beats someone. Because they go, okay, well, she said rock, so she's going to go paper, so I should go scissors. And then they just lose, and they're like... So, anyways, this is one where I think mechanically it's very powerful, but also just the play experience is very fun. It's kind of like, I used to play a lot of Nuvum, and when you play Nuvum, you get a really good poker face, where you just look and you see a Basalt and you just put it in Archives. And I think Melier kind of encourages that same skill, where it's just, you look at the runner and you just put one down, and you give nothing away. And I really enjoy that as a card design.
No, that is really fun.
I have no poker face, as you well know. So, that's...
No, you do. You have a pretty good poker face when you're playing.
Sometimes, when I know that, 2 of the 3 cards that I've dropped on the table are Oracle think tanks, that look, either way, I win. I either get to score one of the agendas or you're taking a tag. But I want to circle back to Lotus Haze, because... I'm surprised that that card is winding up getting as much attention as it apparently is. Although I guess I wasn't thinking of it in the context of Red Room also existing.
Well, something else. So I played 1 total game with Melier U, so this is my source. But in that game, I did have Mitra Amon. And it was really, there was a point in this game where I scored a Lotus Haze and went, oh, all of my servers are protected by Mitra Amon now. That means all of my servers can be any ice in my hand. And, that effect is really strong. Like, there's a lot that you can start to do. Like, we were talking about Flagship. If you put Flagship in a Jinteki deck, suddenly you can move Flagship. Like, I think there are a lot of effects, there are a lot of upgrades where the ability to just put them in front of the runner when the runner doesn't want it becomes very... I mean, it becomes a real problem for the runner. Not in the way where it's going to like, oh, Omega Band, but just become something the runner has to start planning around.
Yeah. I remember when Mitra Amon came out, there were some calls throughout the community, or some concern throughout the community that this card is not okay and is going to break something. And it kind of never did. It never really broke through in any kind of like problematic way. I wonder if that's going to come back with if like a Lotus Haze combo is like, hey, Mitramon's literally anywhere now, and you can just eat a Cloud Eater from literally anywhere.
Yeah. So you got me thinking, actually, because you're saying that Mitramon never broke out. It never really did, but there was that Thunderbolt deck that was on Mitramon and Ganked. And then that got me thinking, you could Lotus Haze a Ganked into the runner.
You absolutely can.
And just kind of like, any run just becomes a Ganked. And at that point, you have invested in Lotus Haze and Ganked, so it's like, but it is funny.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah.
I think it's worth exploring.
Yeah, I mean, when I play Jinteki, I'm mainly playing RH Glacier with Propio Negation, so I don't know that I have room for Lotus Haze in that deck, especially since I'm trying to do the snake tricks.
Yeah.
And but it is fascinating to see this agenda getting printed and immediately having all of these use cases for it. I just don't know how to evaluate cards. So
I will say too. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna segue.
Oh, just real quick before you segue. It's a very Jinteki card. It is a very obviously like the Lotus theming is very, but just like it's a very like Jinteki is very like Smoke and Mirrors faction, and Lotus Haze is just another layer.
Yeah.
So, okay, segue. Smash.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I have one more?
Segue delayed.
I will say I did not expect Lotus Haze to be the card that we would just hang on.
This is a tangent. This is a total tangent, but it is something I've been kind of thinking about for quite a while, like quite a few sets now. You mentioned not having room for Lotus Haze in your deck because you're running Propria Negations, and it's the 4/2 slot in like deck construction is kind of crowded these days for really good choices. And I remember, like, I'm technically an old head, although my play record wouldn't show it. There was a time a long time ago when 4/2s were a joke and basically unplayable, with very little exception. And so it's really cool these days. And there's a longer conversation for another recording. But I'm really glad to see that 4/2s are this very awkward scoring to point kind of ratio. And I'm really glad to, seamless launch notwithstanding, another discussion. It's really cool to see 4/2s, this kind of awkward card type, finally actually be kind of what it should have always been, which is like these really awesome, powerful effects that are a little awkward to get out. They advance your game plan, but not quite as much as you would have hoped, or your points toward victory. And so I just like that, like you were saying, Lotus Haze is a really cool effect. You can do some really cool stuff with it. It's competing for Propria Negation and Let Them Dream and off, and
orbital superiority.
Yeah, orbital superiority.
We spent probably more than an hour at this point, and of all of the 4/2 agendas that we talked about, we never got to comparing anything to Off-World Office. New
record.
Yeah, I must be. I also love the fact that you brought back up Let Them Dream, because I was 100% about to say, "Oh, you're liking seeing these powerful 4/2s. You're a fan of Let Them Dream now." Yeah. So anyway, to circle back to the segue that I was trying to do.
Quick, come up with something else.
What? No, because
we haven't talked about Witch Hunt. Sorry, keep going.
No, you know what? Pivot. We're gonna do it. Witch Hunt.
Okay, we're good?
Yeah.
So, technical difficulties. But what I was saying about Witch Hunt, basically, is that it is it's a very good card in Editorial Division, because they don't mind taking the bad pub on Steel. But I was saying, like, I've been toying with Epiphany, Hype Machine Epiphany, by the way. I call it Hypephany. But...
The reactions between the two of us were so completely different. I'm over here chuckling, and Ryan's just and Wiggle Sticks is just shaking his head.
But anyways, I decided that I just don't want the runner to ever have bad publicity against Epiphany.
Makes sense.
So I'm really interested in Witch Hunt to see if it kind of finds a home outside of Editorial Division, or if it's just an ED support card.
And that's just getting a little bit to what I was saying earlier. Like, that's what I'm nervous about with ED is, I love that abbreviation, is I'm worried about the parasitic nature of it, and like there's these cards only work with each other, We'll see. I would love to see this
I do
expanded.
think
but...
there's like I think if R Plus was in the pool, they would play Witch Hunt.
Sure.
Like I think there is, and like Synapse, I think could play it. Like I think there are decks, so one bad pub isn't going to change the world for the runner.
Mm-hmm.
So as the Synapse main, I will say that at least the way that I play the deck, it definitely feels kind of difficult to consistently score the agendas that you want to.
Fair.
And, you know, this might just be a skill issue, but, you know, if I think that the potentiality of getting those 3 tags on the runner, it could be worth it. And also in Synapse, don't forget that the Witch Hunt does remove all tags when its trigger goes off. So if you
that's funny.
you spend your turn scoring the Witch Hunt while they're tagged, and then you remove the tag, get the install, res your hype machine for free, and now they've got 3 tags going into their turn.
Yep.
And if they can clear all of them, then you know you're going to get another Synapse install. And if they probably they won't be able to clear all of them if things are going well for you. And if they do clear all of them, okay, they just spent 6 credits and 3 clicks, you know, dealing with that.
Sounds like free money to me, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So it's there's something there. I don't necessarily know if it's my play style, which is strange because I am building like every possible iteration of Synapse under the sun, apparently. But you know, it could have a home in Synapse. You just have to be probably better about actually being able to score it.
If you give infinite monkeys infinite Synapse decks, one of them will put Witch Hunt in the deck.
Yes, exactly.
Anyways, do that segue.
I just
no, I knew that this was never going to stay on the rails.
We've been bringing up art periodically, and I just have to say we can't talk about Witch Hunt without talking about the art. Have you all noticed the art and paid attention to the design and thematics of it? It's the framing, the positioning. The guy is standing in front of some kind of pillar. He looks like he's being burned at the stake. Yeah, and then everyone's holding up screens that kind of look like torches or fire or something. It's a beautiful piece of framing.
Beautiful piece. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, so absolutely killer piece of art.
Yeah, there is a lot of good art in this set.
Yeah.
One piece of artwork that I really like on a card that I don't understand for the life of me. I don't know how you brought me back to my original segue, but how the heck is read-write share supposed to work? What are you supposed to do with this card?
Hold on. I've come full circle on this card. I think this card is awesome. I think this card is draw filter. I think if you have a hand of 5 cards, like say that you're playing Arizona, because of course you are, and you've already installed Lily Pad, but you have your second Lily Pad in hand. You put it on read write share and just get a replacement. It kind of offloads some of the... It's like a worse class act, kind of, where instead of bottoming a card, you put it on read write share. And it also gives you a free trigger for Simulchip at any time. But I think there's 2 use cases. One is an eternal combo, like the old power shutdown, accelerated diagnostics, put your whole deck in the graveyard and then use read write share. But I think the main use case is draw filter, where it's just you have cards in your hand that you don't want anymore. You put them on read write share and they become a problem for you in 4 turns.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, you just overwrite the card and dump them all into the bin and not have to worry about it anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the main use case for the card, is kind of just like I've seen it included in Maggie decks because they just want to draw all the time. But when you draw up to 7 or 6 every turn, you wind up with just redundant cards. You just hide them on read write share.
Yeah. Okay. It was very first glance at that card, I was like, I don't fully get this. And I'm kind of the shaper nerd. Like I don't get, it's cool, like it does weird shapery things, but it's just not my style. And then it was kind of when I had that lightning bolt realization of, oh wait, this is Shaper's version of draw filtering. I was like, oh no, this is sick. I love this.
Yeah,
because this also fixes all my bad deck building tendencies, where it's I put too many duplicates of things. And...
read write share will cover your deck building.
Exactly.
That's the point.
Okay, I get it now. So do we think that this is going to be like an auto include in Shaper deck?
Certainly
No,
not,
no.
especially as we've seen Shaper decks tend towards the lower MU, like they're cutting optimizers and playing on low MUs. It is 2 MU, and that's not insignificant. But I think if you're already installing optimizers and lily pads, and if you're trying to play like a slower Shaper, I think Read Write Share is definitely always worth considering, even if it's not like an auto include. Because it is weird, and it is... Like, there will be games where you go, all right, I'm going to draw, and if I get a run event or money, I win. And you draw a Read Write Share, and that's going to feel bad. But, like...
And I also think there is no... somebody's going to prove me wrong at some point. It's only 2 influence, but I don't see a world in which this ever leaves Shaper. Anarch has so much power draw, or like power, self-trash draw, like the price and stuff like that. Crim does a beautiful filter draw
So,
already.
actually,
They
I
don't
have
need
heard that this card has slotted into the Dirt Eater Zion.
Oh, come on. that surprises me genuinely, just given what Criminal can do.
Yeah,
And how tight on influence that deck is.
And Crim hates MU.
Yeah, I was also surprised to hear this, but I have heard it. So I do think you're right, though. I think this card is predominantly, like, I would never put this in Anarch.
No, God, no.
Like...
And even then, it has to be in more of a big rig Shaper deck as opposed to something leaner like
something
an aggro lat or a day
right.
or
Yeah, it's going to be a deck that you have like duplicate installables of that you don't want. You could theoretically use it to bottom some singletons like
Does it bottom or does it shuffle? I thought
or shuffle, whatever.
Yeah.
But like to stash away for later use things like Ashen.
Yeah.
But you don't really play
Or like-
Ashen in Shaper, so
There's an old joke, though, that like with Shaper, you want your icebreakers to stay in the deck so you can SMC them out.
Yeah.
Because you'd rather SMC them with Overclock than install them. And Read Write Share also lets you do that. You can because it's an instant speed trash. You can overclock, they res, you pop Read Write Share, and then pop SMC. And it's
Shaper.
It's very Shaper, but like it does solve what has been a problem for Shaper decks in the past. In a very weird Shaper way. Like we're talking about Lotus Haze being a Jiteki card. This is a Shaper card.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
This is why you surround yourself with better players, is because they can explain to you these cards that you just don't understand how it is that they're supposed to function. It's something like what is it? We're gonna have to edit this part out because I am just drawing a blank on this card name. Sell out.
Sell out.
Yeah, it's
The real
we're-
big fish reference finally coming to Android Netrunner.
Wow.
Duke made that joke first.
Oh, he would. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say you're too young for real big fish. What?
I was in a ska band in high school.
Okay.
Also tracks.
The worst part is that now we're going to have to leave in the part where I just forget Sellout's name for 10 seconds.
No,
because no, we have to keep that in. That was too funny. Sellout is a card that you look at and you understand what's going on there right away.
Yeah, of course.
It's that Criminal has an overabundance of resources that it can just get rid of in exchange for the net on credits and 2 cards, which is not insignificant. Being able to ditch open markets that are about to fizzle out, or Underdome Irregulars being a card that put in a lot of work for me the other day. Just as, okay, it's not going to fire this turn, so, sell the kids off and get some cash and cards. We're real Children's Crusade hours over here. Being able to reset the class act and also just get the money that you need to install the class act in the process.
Selling a open market that has a single credit left on it.
Yep.
There's almost a world where you could put this in, not Hoshiko, obviously, rest in peace, but like, if you have a companion, because the companions have life cycles, where the Paladin gets bad after you've installed everything, Mystic gets bad when your Econ's good. You could sell them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it doesn't say connection,
Mystic,
right?
Mystic doesn't get bad when your Econ's good because it just lets you play the Econ cards.
Well, it's like, so in Essek, you have Mystic, and then you Ghost Tongue, and then you sell the Mystic.
Well,
Don't do that, that's bad, but like...
But Mystic in Essa is a trap, so,
Well, no, I'm saying it can be less of a trap now that you can sell Mystic to the cops.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I mean, and actually speaking to those, specifically those companions, There are a fair number of games where I do, when I'm sitting across somebody playing the companion suite or some subset of it, and they hit a turn where they're like, "Oh crap, I miscalculated," or like, "I'm not going to be able to spend these credits this turn."
You touch an agenda you weren't planning on, or something.
Yeah, and like, oh well,
you
now
forget
it's
to
gonna
pay into your Penrose with your Trickster Taka
Yeah.
before because like sometimes
exactly.
you remember-
Theoretically.
Theoretically.
sometimes you remember to do that, and sometimes it's like, oh, son of a-
Right, yeah. And so for those theoretical, hypothetical cases that never happen in the real world, sellout, it's like you can, it's a ripcord on, like, I'm going to get a little bit of value out of this resource before it, trashes itself.
It is funny that isolation exists.
No, it doesn't.
Anyways, were you saying something about sellout?
Possibly. So there is one question that I have, just because I haven't actually seen an answer to this, and foolishly I did not look it up earlier. Can you use a credit off of Mystic Mamie and then trash the Mystic Mamie as the cost to play Sellout?
Probably.
Should be able to.
Yeah.
I can't think of a reason why you wouldn't.
Mystic's final
Somebody's
gift.
going to correct me on that, but
Well, it's an additional cost, so you pay the credit and then you pay the cost of trashing, and it should.
I assume that should work. But
Let me know in the comments.
I mean, I think that Sellout I don't know if it makes more sense than Isolation as much as it does. It just seems like the sort of thing that Criminal needs more than Anarch did.
Yeah.
Anarch has, because of the companions, Anarch is swimming in money, and we getting both the cards and the credits from Criminal decks, which are notoriously poor and incapable of drawing cards, or at least they are when I build them. It definitely helps with greasing the wheels of enabling the Criminal decks to work better.
Yeah, no, I think Sellout will be a very good kind of like shot of diesel for a couple Criminal runners.
Yeah, funnily enough, I was actually talking with another much better Crim player today and about Sellout, and I have been working on a Baz deck for a while that Wigglestick and I have talked about quite a bit, and I came to the conclusion that I wanted Sellout in that deck more than I wanted Clean Getaway. And the reason for that is that, for one thing, Clean Getaway costs more credits to play, and for another, it locks you into a run, and you can only get the credits from it if that run is successful. So if your opponent just ices up all three centrals, and then you find yourself in a position where you just don't have a good thing to run into, that Clean Getaway becomes a lot less reliable. Whereas with Baz, since you do want those resources to be able to potentially install off his trigger, you have more fodder for this Sellout that's, 2 credits cheaper, gets you cards as well that you can then install with Baz.
That makes sense.
It definitely feels like the sort of thing that he would want, and it goes back into that thing about criminals having entirely too many events that they want to be playing, and now you get more options with which to pick and choose the ones that are going to fit the deck and the ones that are going to maybe you don't wind up using. That if you told yourself 6 months ago that you would be building a Criminal deck without Clean Getaway in it, you would have thought that you were insane. But that doesn't have anything to do with the Criminal card choices. That's just the way that you feel about yourself all the time sometimes.
What a bad sentence. Just have to inform you that was a run-on.
Yeah.
I'll fix it in post, but that was a really bad sentence.
It was okay. Yeah, I don't know. Also,
fine.
yeah. It also got a little bit darker than I intended to. Speaking of darkness, who else is excited for Event Horizon?
Oh God.
Well, I want to put it in GameNet. Okay, they give us
Yeah.
this three influence Wayland Ice with 2 subroutines that drain for credits, and GameNet has 17 influence. It's the perfect home for it.
If Event Horizon is one of the...
Let's ignore the boat.
This is not an Obcast. This is a Hypecast.
Uh-huh.
But I was really... You're surprised to see a Global Food reprint.
Yeah.
I was really surprised to see Border Control. Like, I know Border Control was like a staple of a lot of decks, but I don't feel like Because everyone's like, oh, Ob's going to miss border. Ob was fine. You know, like they, I don't know. I don't quite know what to make of this card. It's obviously very good, and it will obviously. I mean, it's just another piece the runner has to consider when they're planning to get into a server. You know, you want to put it in game, and I want to put it in Leo. Like, good luck. You know.
Mm-hmm. I'm the Debbie Downer here on this particular card. This is one I'm not overly thrilled to see back. I've just kind of always hated border control, probably because I'm bad and don't know how to play into it effectively. Like, it's a skill issue thing. I get that, but just like I wasn't overly thrilled to see this come back. The game seemed to be going on fine without it, but maybe I don't know. Maybe I was wrong on that. So,
although here's the easy solution: if you play Arizona, just put a hush on that baddie.
This is true.
Break it for 2.
Yes.
Easy.
Yeah. So that's fair.
Brigade 1 with Slamp Vandal, pay 3, boom, take a dive. It's all coming together.
Yeah, so I don't know. I did not really get a chance to play with border control. I, went on my hiatus around the time that it was printed, so I, haven't had the chance to learn exactly how problematic it can be. And so, I don't know. It's one that I'm trying to be optimistic about, because I know the level of annoyance that it could potentially bring. Again, don't get me started on the boat and how well it's eating this set, but it does have all of these, potential other use cases of going into these decks across all of the different factions, and it could, again, bring something of ice actually mattering again.
Yeah.
That hasn't really felt like the case throughout the elevation meta, where I run into a lot of ice destruction decks, and it really messes with
my fault.
I feel like with Ben, I'm never with cut that one out. I feel like with some people, I'm never going to live down that crash out that I had over the Lou deck the first time that I played against it.
You'll have to tell me this story off air.
Fair enough.
It was a funny one.
Yeah.
Me on the sideline.
Yeah.
But I suspect, like, Event Horizons, it's going to be fine. Border control was fine. The game didn't, crash when that was out. So that's just my personal feelings on it. I think it's going to be good. People are going to be really excited for it. It's going to see a lot of play.
And like Argon was saying, it is something the set has done a really good job of, is kind of incentivizing and helping scoring. A card we haven't talked about, I'm going to segue for you, but Shackleton Grid is one that I'm really intrigued by, just because it really gets in the way of like Chesfa and Overclock and Mantle and the Companions and all these kind of tricks that runners have to get through big ice. They can still do it. I'm just going to hit them for 4. Yeah. Like Shackleton Grid is a card that I'm very excited to... because I'm a sicko, but I'm very excited to put it in decks and just hide it behind a big ice and just make it the runner's problem.
So, I have a confession to make. Shackleton Grid was the card in this set that irritated me the most.
Really?
Whoop.
I mean, I see it.
So,
but really.
so it's one of these, like, I understand that, having things like Chesva and the Companions in the metagame, you want the corpse to be able to have ways of answering those tools or maybe mitigating their effectiveness. And Shackleton Grid is in this really strange place for me, where I don't know that it's good, but if it is good, it's a little oppressive.
Yeah.
I think the fact that, it only affects that single server, that if there is that one server that you feel like you need to defend, it's going to be a reasonable thing to
Unless you score a Lotus Haze, of course.
So, funnily enough, that was what I was about to get into, is that, if you score a Lotus Haze, it's a different story. You now have Shackleton grids on every server, but that is only in Jinteki, and
Sorry, that's so funny.
also just the fact that, okay, they make kind of a big deal about, bringing stealth back. Corsair was one of the first cards that we saw from Vantage Point, and we also get Lampides, Baker, Methuselah, Touchstone, Aircheck. We name-checked all of them even before I got to that sentence. And when they bring stealth back, they bring back this. And either it's not going to do anything, or it's going to do way too much. And in either case, this of all things is the card that it's a ridiculous opinion.
My first thought when I read it is that this won't... I could be wrong on all of these counts, but it won't see a lot of play except in NPE situations. I don't know if this, for some reason, there's something about this card that reads to me like it's just not going to see mainstream usage. But I could be wrong about that.
It is another card that was a one of in that Obelisk. Because if you can instant speed put it somewhere, that's stupid.
That's fair, yeah, and I can see opting.
But I do think I was thinking Build to Last might want this. I think any deck where you're never gonna have more than one server, this is a really good way to kind of help that server become unassailable, and especially because in terms of Wayland grids, because this is a region, the only other one you're gonna play is Zato, so I wouldn't splash this into Jinteki because I want my Lacosta grids, So
there could very well be a Jinteki deck, especially one that's trying to score Lotus Haze that wants this. But you're probably right. It definitely is going to be less splashed and more confined to Wayland. I'm surprised that you got through that entire paragraph and did not bring up putting it into Earth Station.
Don't tempt me.
If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, and I don't know that I'm gonna be the arbiter of that. That's entirely on you. If you think that it's the correct call, or just that it's funny,
it would be funny.
Yeah,
try to run on HQ. I do think this is another card though where it's I think this is something I keep thinking about a lot is trying to deep dive someone with a Shackleton grid on a central, because a lot of shapers rely on some sort of outside credit, and now your deep dive is getting shot. So it's I think we were talking about flagship earlier, and I think this is kind of in the same camp of a potential balancing tool for what is a very strong unban.
Yeah,
I was honestly kind of surprised to see deep dive get unbanned, but you do make a good point that we are getting all of these different tools that have the ability to mitigate that with. Flagship, Shackleton Grid,
Let
Lotus
Them Dream,
Haze,
even.
Let Them Dream. Yeah, no, it may in fact wind up being a perfectly safe unban. Speaking of unbans, I was going to talk about Vic at some point, and everyone knew this. Again, we're I don't know how long in we are because I'm not looking at the computer right now, but the fact that I managed to this is the ID that I was the most stoked for, and it is fascinating.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that it kind of feels like not even remotely close to a near print of, but looking into the same vicinity as Lisa Talking Thunder, and because it's interacting with both tags and card draw.
Yeah.
It's just not I'm going to take the tags and draw the cards and counter surveillance you into oblivion.
Right.
I'm taking away the tag and getting the card. It's costing me a credit, so there's actually some amount of balancing being considered here. And it's also funny just to look at all of the different things that this can interact with, both in Vantage Point and in the card pool. You mentioned Eru earlier as that has long been a staple of Crim, and its ability to turn archives into the R&D or HQ dig, and we've got players in this metagame that have been on, I don't know whether the technical term is self-defense Zaya or aggravated assault Zaya. It feels like it switches every time we talk about the deck, but it just seems like another interesting home for it, and one that is strangely enough also kind of trying to focus on the installables, because you've got cards like Borrowed Goods and Rotary that are giving you the tags that you're looking to clear with this ability, and the previously, like, the only event that does that is what, transfer in the card pool right now.
Does what? Sorry?
Tags
Eye for
yourself.
an eye.
Eye for an eye. So you could go in both directions with this. You could go event-based Vic, or you could go install-based Vic.
Right.
Privileged access. That's another one.
Yeah,
Praxis, very good card. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. I'm not crim-brained enough to appreciate Vic, but it seems all right. It seems my read on Vic is it seems like another like a what's the term, like a 2.5 or a 1.5 tier crim after Zaya maybe. And
I was talking to someone, and their point was that there's a kind of an elevation meta. If you were ever unsure what to bring, you just put a bunch of events in Muslahat,
right,
and
yeah.
you probably do okay. And their point was that Vic might want to be in a similar role, where you just kind of put some cards that tag you, and you have draw, and it's a deck, So
I think Vic is solid and will find it. There will be a lot of, I think, reg-ish style, maybe heavy on the tags, but reg-ish style crim decks that fall out of that, and we'll see a moderate amount of play.
Yeah, I know that it does feel like a really good home for Reg Crim now. I know that someone was mentioning on Thursday night that it felt like one of the places that you wanted to start looking was basically taking the Sable Shell and porting it into Vic. It doesn't help that with Sable gone, we're getting all of the Crim stuff back that was banned in order to keep her down, like was it just Info Bounty? Yeah, but now we've also got DreamNet, which was the card that got unbanned that pointed me in this direction, and I completely failed to mention it because I'm a professional at this. And it has tools. I'm curious to see what it does. And yeah, it's a fun ID.
Yeah.
A fun ID that really kind of points you in a direction, but also doesn't, as opposed to Hiram, which I'm still not sure what that's trying to do.
Hiram is intriguing to me. I'm a little bit with you. I'm not sure how to feel about it. Yeah.
So I love Hiram. So the first thing I did when I had time was start playing Hiram games. And I talked before with Flood the Market about a deck building puzzle, and Hiram is a hell of a deck building puzzle. Because it really... You want to run a critical mass of hardware, but that starts to edge out all the good Shaper events and programs. And I found that Hiram, when I was playing, it was just slow. And being able to see R&D is nice. It's really nice. But you need to be able to capitalize on that. And I couldn't figure it out. I am positive that someone will figure it out. Or that a set or two from now and there's a little more hardware. But the whole time I was playing Hiram, I kept thinking like, oh, my Kingdom for a pad tap. Or just some hardware that I can install that would help my econ.
Yeah.
And it's not quite in the game right now. I will say, though, Methuselah is awesome. I love Methuselah. But it's just the Hiram himself as a runner and as a build around is really constraining in a way that I haven't.
Yeah. No, and yeah, Hiram's fascinating. It's what I really appreciate about it, given my style of play, the way I approach the game, is that Hiram is not another pure value ID. It's not, make a run, get a credit, make a run, draw cards, that kind of thing. It's one of these like more intangible kind of weird side benefits that doesn't have like a strict economic value that you can attach to it. I think this is another reason why like Tau is as basic kind of system gateway-ish as Tau is one of my favorites, just because it's this weird kind of sideways benefit that isn't just like a strict numbers game. And so I like that. And Hiram, like, I was a massive Adam player back when Adam was legal, and I played a lot of Find the Truth out of Adam. Find the Truth being you get to peak at the top of R&D when you make runs and stuff. And there were a lot of really fun things to do with that. There was another card back then, RNG Key, that we don't have now. We don't have an equivalent of that. So that's the downside of this, is there is no really cool tech currently that lets you do a fun trick with the top of R&D once you know what it is. And so there's back to it, kind of what you're saying, there's some awkwardness around it, and like, how do you actually, the top of R&D, now what? I think the way I've been thinking about Hiram is the obvious, or kind of the most straightforward first approach at building a Hiram deck is you attack R&D. You know the top of R&D, you go attack R&D. And you probably want to do some of that for sure. I've been starting to think a bit more about making Hiram do more HQ pressure. You know R&D for a few turns in a row, and then you kind of know HQ. And so now if you go in with the HQ multi-access or like a burner or something, you can go into HQ kind of more confidently as a shaper, which is kind of a weird thing that, shaper hasn't historically done too much of. And so I've been thinking about building Hiram in a way where you can attack R&D when necessary, but like also you're kind of secretly hitting HQ more once you kind of know the hand.
I think that makes a lot more sense than just trying to use Hiram as like an R&D lock sort of thing, because I did not know what to think about Hiram initially until a couple weeks back when I saw someone trying to play a proxied up Hiram deck, and it was doing things, but boy, does running R&D when there's an agenda on top not wind up being as much of a fun thing to do when there's a spin doctor on the table, rezzed or unrezzed.
Exactly.
And so I think that channeling it towards HQ pressure, whether it's, with tailgate, cupellation, burner, eye for an eye if you want to be...
Sure.
So look, actually, no, this eye for an eye trashes a hardware from hand.
All right. Eye for an eye is a Hiram card. All right.
This is technically true, so I have to give it to you, but I don't like it. I will say, one very funny Hiram build that I keep bouncing around is Basilar Synthclan's Hippocampic Zenith chip. If the meta ever stops trying to kill me, I think this will be really, really funny. But it
Are you playing Tremolo too at that point?
Yeah, you might as well. It's one influence. Course, yeah. Like, what else are you gonna do with your life?
Tremolo's one influence.
Yeah. Because you need all the cybernetics. Mm-hmm. And then at that point you might as well play Marrow, and at that point you might as well play Essa. But it's like, I do think, I don't know, Hiram fascinates me, and I was very upset to find that I could not make it work easily. Sure. But I'm sure that it will happen, and I'll be very excited.
I think that looking at Hiram as kind of an HQ pressure thing is a really good shout and a really good way towards making Hiram more functional. Mm-hmm. It definitely feels like the sort of thing that really needs to be iterated on and is a deck building puzzle.
Hiram almost feels like one of the IDs. There's just saying that, like, if your ID fires once or twice, but it's very impactful, like Isawek, it's still very good. And I think trying to build Hiram in such a way where you fire the ID every turn might not be, with this card pool, the way to do it. You might be looking for, like, on a turn where I might run R&D, but the value odds are weird. Mm-hmm. I got a peek. Okay, I know I can ignore that server. I don't know. I think it's a weird puzzle.
Sure.
I keep saying this, but it's true.
Sure.
So.
Mm-hmm. So talking about shaper cards, the shaper card that I think I'm probably most excited about this set is actually Sipa.
Knowing that you're a Dow enjoyer, I'm kind of not surprised by this, but at the same time, why?
Yeah, so ever since I was a wee tot and I opened the core set, the FFG core set back in the day, and started learning all these cards, that's one of the things about Shaper I've always loved most. It's what kind of most excited me when sitting down with a lot of my older Shaper decks was this color pie ability they had to kind of in the name reshape the board to fit their agenda. No pun intended. Where
Yes,
they get to move ice around. They get to change ice subtypes. It's hey, whatever your board is, the ice build the court builds up all this ice. They build up all these defenses, and they lay these traps or these obstacles for the runner. And the shapers just say, "Nah, I don't want to play that game. I'm playing a different one, and this is now what this server is." I've always kind of loved that from both like not just like a power fantasy sort of game fantasy thing, but also like a mechanical thing that's just very fun. Is like rearranging the servers. You can stack R&D to suit all the R&D pressure you would have and things like that. And so then SEPA just being able to bring that back. Like Inversificator was one of my favorite cards for a very long time.
Yeah, I think you mentioned being like the highest placing kit player at
Yeah,
Worlds
yeah.
one year.
So Worlds in Barcelona, I was a top kit player in the world. So you're all looking at greatness out of 2 kits.
Okay.
So Inversificator was great. There was another card that never saw play, but that I was obsessed with again, kind of from a conceptual point of view, called Escher. I don't know if either of you even know what that.
I know, but only because you've told me about it.
It's a really awkward old Shaper run event that let you rearrange all the ice on the board.
I did not remember this card, and when you first started that sentence, I genuinely thought you were going to talk about Surfer.
And SEPA has a little bit of Surfer in it too. So there's just a lot of cool things that this card does. For me, personally, for any of the Shaper heads out there who kind of liked that part of Shaper, so I was really excited to see this here. I love the fact that it's not attached to a piece of ice. It sits on its own and kind of can be used indefinitely. So I'm just really excited for that card, and it's going to make its way into a lot of my decks.
And and as it does, Ezam will rise up to meet it.
Yes, of course, yeah.
That one's another interesting one, I think. Talking again about the near prints, like this, harkening back to good old Thimblerig. Although, granted, it doesn't have the end-the-run subroutine that, probably made Thimblerig significantly more powerful than this. But it is capable of doing weird and interesting things. No, wait a minute. What? There's another card that this is like. And I first thought of Thimblerig when I saw this.
Tributary.
That's the one, because I had no idea what that card did, because I just only played Standard and had its banned in there. And then I was playing with it in Eternal, and then just like, wow, this is actually kind of nuts. So, I don't know. Do we see a particular home for this?
I don't know. This one I have a hard time reading, getting a good read on. The +1, the ice, all ice getting +1 strength for the remainder of the run. That feels like a very old school Jinteki design to me. I love to see it, but this kind of positional ice and then ice buffing other ice thing that old Jinteki used to do never really caught on. It was always just slightly too awkward to make work effectively. Now, granted, I'm just going to call it maze. You can move it wherever you need to, which is huge. That's going to, gives it a huge amount of ability to be where it needs to be. Whether or not that catches on, I don't know. But I love the idea. I love the idea of this card.
I don't think this card will ever be more than like a one-of in a deck.
Sure.
But I think this is, like, in a weird way, this is almost Trojan hate, because you can install it on archives and then kidnap their Trojan. And I think, like, it's also a very good value. It's 1 credit, 3 strength for a code gate, which, like, Buzzsaw notwithstanding, is generally good numbers. So I think this is. We were talking about paywall earlier. This could become an ice where you just put it on a server and make the runner deal with it over and over.
Yeah.
And if you think, like, you put it on your scoring remote, and then you score, and then the next turn you put it on R&D while you search for the next agenda. Like, I think there could be a home for this deck, but if not, it's because, like you're saying, it's just a little too slow and a little too kind of under the power level.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to try this card. I'm certainly going to be trying this card. This is another card that I thought about putting in Leo.
Okay.
Because I feel like 7 strength Brawn has to be worse than 6 strength Brawn.
your Leo deck is going to be wild.
Just wait till you see the Lightning Laboratory.
Circling back to the SEPA, though, actually. So, do you think it has a home potentially outside of Shaper?
Ooh, that's a good question. So,
Because, look, I'm going to be perfectly honest. The numbers on this do not point that way because it's a 2-memory program. It's got 3 influence to it.
yeah.
On the other hand, this does seem like the kind of thing where, when you wind up in the situations where you just have a really obnoxious piece of ice on HQ that is stopping you from transferring in Crim.
Yeah.
Essa might take this, like, as much as influence in those decks is tight, but, like, there's some Essa games where you get Begamot installed and your other breakers eat the dirt.
Yeah.
So, but having the ability to then put this down and say, well, wherever you put your barrier, I'm going to put that barrier where I want, that could become something. It is awkward with the MU and the influence, but it's like...
Yeah, I think Crim's going to have a hard time with this. Again, anytime I see 2 MU, my first thought is like, Crim just never plays this.
Tunnel vision, so sad.
I tried.
You gave it a good try.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think that Essa is another good shout for it, though. Like, influence in Essa definitely feels like a bit more of a wild card, especially, and the fact that Matryoshka's banned, rest in peace. I don't think that card needed to be banned, but I'm probably wrong about that. I would be curious for Essa to play soccer.
I mean, if anybody's going to try it, I'm going to.
Good.
This would actually fit in the way I build my Essa decks. So.
Well, I mean, hey, now it's another option, and considering how good of a Fractor Bejamo is, I genuinely think it might be worth it. So.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting an appreciation for this card more as we talk about it. It's kind of a weird one.
Awesome.
Hey, you know what we've completely ignored this whole time?
Anarchs.
Well, no, actually, because we did talk about Take a Dive.
I can see your phone. I'm just shitting.
Okay. Yes. The only HB card that we've mentioned was Melier City Luxury Line, which, to be fair, is actually worth talking about because, yay, HB has a playable 5/3 agenda again. On the other hand, HB did get some really interesting tools in this set.
I want to talk about Sleipnir or Sleipnir.
That card is wild.
Ice slaps. This is a really, really good piece of ice.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's cheap to res. It's basically Scatterfield stats. It's 1 more, but it's the same strength, and it doesn't have the Scatterfield restriction. It has meaningful subroutines. Like, you never want to let Sleipnir fire. The art on this card is unreal.
It's very good.
It is running down the Bifrost. Like,
Truly.
I didn't even realize that until now.
But this is one of the cards that, like, I started corp building. Like, I was making a Nuvum deck. I'm like, well, I have 2 influence left. And I just kind of put a Sleipnir in there. I was like, I've done this a couple times now. It's this is an ice I'm very excited to just... It seems very, very strong. I love this.
The fact that it has 3 subroutines, meaning that Boomerang can't deal with, like...
Yep.
It's going to do some things, and
it's boomerang proof. It's bad for Botulus.
Yep.
Like it's 1 credit worse for Buzzsaw.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ryan, you're our main HB enjoyer.
Yeah.
How many decks have you slotted this into already?
Every HB deck I've made.
Okay.
Which is actually all the corp decks I've made. No, I've even put in non-HB decks. It's just this feels to me like the new. At least the way I kind of conceptualize things, like, this is the new default code gate against which you will measure the effectiveness of other code gates.
I think I can see that. Scatterfield does lend itself to a very specific place. Well, I mean, it also just lends itself to a very specific construction of deck,
True.
that you want it to be doing the fully operational and flood the market things with it. Sleipnir is something that is going to be able to go in pretty much anything. You know?
Leo.
It's going to go in Leo Glacier. It's going to go in some sort of rush deck.
Yep.
You know, it's the only thing that it's probably not going to go into is Thunderbolt. So yeah, no, this is a really cool piece of ice, and I am looking forward to seeing what it's going to be able to do.
If I can go again immediately on HB cards, retirement plan. I've been experimenting with this in Epiphany, and it's actually quite good. I think. I think this card has a lot. NSG's been pretty cagey with their recursion, which is fair, but this is a very. I think this card will see play in a lot of places. It's just, look, I'm using it in Epiphany to get back an agenda and put it on Hollow Man, or get back Hollow Man and still have the trigger. With the new Cyclotron card, too, obviously, it gets better if you can keep it in faction. But it's just, I think this is a card that just gives a lot of, if you have influence for it, it's just a very valuable piece to just, like, get your best asset or upgrade back. The Runner's Trash Your Wage Workers, it's back. I did that with Federal Fundraising like 3 times. Runner was very annoyed. It was really fun.
Yeah, I agree. I find myself putting at least a 1 of in kind of all the decks I've been building lately, just because there's a lot of nice little backup plans that it builds in for you. So
another card with just phenomenal art. By the way.
I do appreciate also the fact that it doesn't get upgrades.
Yeah,
You know, that I think
My
that
Hank Machine.
well, we'll get to that eventually. Oh no. Did it go again?
nope.
Well,
We're good.
Okay, good.
All I want to do is windmill slam 3 hype machines into a server every turn. Why won't NSG let me just windmill slam all of my hype machines?
I don't know. It's well. So we were actually talking about this, and you could do it in Eternal.
Yeah.
You just get enough team sponsorships down, get back all of the hype machines, and then just score multiple agendas in a turn.
Recording.
Yeah. So I mean, like, yeah, we can talk. I think now's a good time to talk about hype machine in general. 'Cause
This card just tickles my brain. Like, it's such a. I will confess, my first plan was to Svidagor extract a Pharos and Ob, and just do that every turn. And then they banned Extractor, so I had to. Currently, it's an Epiphany. It just something about hype machine. I love the visuals. I love the way this card looks.
Beautiful.
It's very beautiful. It's very NB, and it's kind of this and next big thing, next big thing from Elevation are doing a really good job of kind of defining to me what the public face of NBN, excluding the weird pyramid.
Yeah, right.
But what NBN looks like, what they actually do.
Yeah.
And mechanically, it's just there has to be. This is a card where I'm convinced there has to be a trick. There has to be something you can do with this card to get what I discovered actually, because I was playing an Epiphany, and I discovered that with Hollow Man and Hype Machine, you can install and score a 4/2 from hand. So you can install Hollow Man, Hype Machine, Advance, and you've scored a 4/2. And then if you powers that beat back the Hype Machine, like that's a lot of pressure you're putting on the runner.
The tricky part is getting the hype machine rezzed, right?
Just pay for it, Lamau.
Sure,
But yeah, no,
sure.
the tricky part is getting it rezzed, and that is kind of the big thing I'm arguing with this card about, is like, how do I res you? Because once you get it rezzed, it's a really powerful effect. It's a really strong. So this is a card. I'm going to be putting this everywhere for a long time. Like, not everywhere, but I will be. This is a card that makes me want to build around it, because you're either doing that or you're just like make a Glacier server and then res a hype machine in that server. And what I love about Netrunner is, as the corp, when you can just give the runner a problem, you can say, like, you know what's coming, you know what's about to happen in this server, you have 2 turns to deal with it, and Hype Machine does that so well.
Oh, you're a Wayland player, I see. Okay.
Yeah, you know this. Like, I've been playing Earth Station for a long time, but it's just like, I'm thinking if you put this in Earth Station or Leo or something, where it's just, here's a server, there's a Hype Machine in it, and I'm going to use it to score a 5/3 next turn.
The art on this is amazing. I love the fact that it does have that, if an agenda is stolen, you still get the cost reduction thing to it. So it's once again further advancing the game plan of actually trying to score agendas. Something that I also just noticed when looking at it, it's completely irrelevant in standard, but this is an advertisement. You can play this in Spark Agency and Eternal.
Damn straight you can. This and wall to wall, baby.
What does that mean? Res for net 5? net loss of 5?
Well, no, it's when whenever you do the thing with the advertisements, the runner loses a credit, so it's a credit denial piece. So yeah, no, it is a cool card, and this is gonna go in a lot of different decks. Maybe not Nebula, but even now, this is just really cool.
Wiggle brought up earlier Isuak Hype Machine, and that is to the top of my short list. That sounds so funny.
We'll do something.
We will do something. Stay tuned to this space for weird Hype Machine bullshit.
And you, Zay, earlier you had mentioned this, and this is super magical Christmas land, not realistic in like 99% of situations. But Hype Machine's not unique. So
it is not unique.
You could have 3 Hype Machines in a server, in theory.
And then really stare the runner down. Be like, listen, I can install Advance any agenda in the game with 3 Hype Machines. You have to get into this server. Mm-hmm. It just appeals to me so much,
and the nonsense, it even disregarding Spark Machine that you're gonna Spark Agency that you're gonna be able to pull with this in Eternal. Like, team sponsorship is a card that is also not unique. So
yeah, because like I've been working with Powers That Be, and I do think Powers That Be Hype Machine Train is significant.
Yeah,
but Powers That Be is unique, which makes it a bad card. So
I mean. But
/J/love, I love Powers That Be.
So yeah, this is definitely a fun card, and this is a very fun set. I think it is time for us to try to draw this Hype Machine to a close, but Jay mentioned it at some point, and that this set is small but mighty. Mm-hmm. That here we've been in real time. I don't know what it's going to be when we edit out all of the nonsense, but it's 2 hours of us talking about all of the cards in this set that excite us, and just to talk about the cards that we didn't even touch on. We did not talk about Chain Reaction or Borrowed Goods.
Grubber, Nihilo Agent.
Reallocate.
Nihilo
Agent, best art in the set, by the way.
Magistrate Revontulette.
Flywheel? What is Flywheel?
Sick. Flywheel's sick, actually.
You didn't get to go all in on Luana Campos again. We didn't do Lion's Mane.
Go read Zay's review on Luana Campos when she revealed it in GLC.
Yeah.
Yoshu is another card I'm very excited for.
Unleash.
The bees combo.
How did we skip Unleash?
So
because there's so much good stuff.
Such a good set. So very excited to have these cards, frankly, and get to do good shit and dumb shit with them. It's late now and I'm swearing, so we really need to wrap it up. But
so anyway, hope you all enjoyed this extremely windy and meandering discussion of all of the things that we've been thinking about as these Vantage Point cards have been coming out, and all of the things that we're trying to do. Thank you so much for tuning in. Watch this space. We are planning on getting more content up on this channel, and just highlighting all of the crazy things that happen up in the mountains when there's no oxygen, and you build Netrunner decks. So thanks everyone once again, and have a great night, and we'll see you in the next one.
See ya, everyone.
Bye.